The big idea that I want to talk about today is how China's actions constitute what I call an international market failure. The question that we have is, why is framing China's actions as a market failure important? The reason why that is important is currently the various actions against China's actions are being done in an uncoordinated manner, and there are various tariffs that countries are putting in place. But that is ineffective because China can always find ways out by arbitrage and getting their goods from other countries and via other countries. And that's why we are seeing actually that China's exports are increasing while imports are decreasing. So there is a widening gap between exports and imports. So unless we use this framing of a market failure, we will be in a situation where countries will be acting in an uncoordinated manner and being ineffective at countering China. But if we use this framing of a market failure, we will probably be able to get some plurilateral action against China's market unfriendly actions. How exactly do China's actions constitute a market failure? There are a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is that generally the trend with countries is as they become more capable and their productivity rises, they start doing things which are of a higher productivity, and things which are more labor intensive get migrated to other countries. That's how most countries have developed. But that's not what is happening with China. We are seeing that even though China is doing things at the higher end, it is not vacating that space for many countries and companies at the lower end. And this is one major factor why other countries are feeling the effect of China's actions. The reason why this happens is peculiar to China. There is something called the investment led model in China. So there it's not that as if there is an intentional effort by Chinese companies to prevent other countries and other companies from doing things, but it's just the nature of their investment led model where many city governments are competing for incentives, governments are subsidizing companies, there is exchange rate manipulation. The net effect of all that is that Chinese firms are producing across the spectrum and they are not vacating that space for countries and companies in other countries. The second reason in which this is a market failure is to realize that this is not an economic nationalist argument. In fact, China's ability to supply things at lower prices have had several benefits to countries and companies across the world. The costs have reduced for many products and many intermediate goods as well. But that doesn't take out the fact that there are also some negative consequences of this. First, for instance, the fact that there are Chinese flooding of goods at market unfriendly prices means that it has suppressed the search for alternatives in many products and in many domains. That is one major effect of what China has done. The second one is that firm capability in many nation states, especially developing countries, has been reduced because of China's actions. Now, firm capability is built over time, it cannot be constructed suddenly. So, once the firms disappear because of China's flooding, it takes a lot of time for other companies and countries to catch up. So, it's something that China's actions have again resulted in. Now, I'll illustrate what I have said about China's actions constituting as a market failure through the example of rare earths. Now, there are market failure in both cases with respect to rare earth. One, when China was flooding the world with cheap rare earths that everyone could use, there were some market failures in that condition. And now, when China is restricting the export of rare earths, there are certain market failures there as well. We can understand both of these conditions to illustrate this idea of China's actions constituting an international market failure. Let's first take the condition where China was flooding the world with cheap rare earths. Now, the market failure that I want you to think about is the idea of market concentration. The efficient allocation of resources in a market implies that things are produced in an area where it is most cost effective to produce them. Now, that's what should have happened in the case of rare earths. Rare earths are not rare, they were being explored, mined in many countries across the world. But over time, we see that it is highly concentrated in China and China only. Now, of course, China did have some comparative advantages because of which it was able to do this. But there were also the effects of subsidies, there was the effect of exchange rate manipulations, because of which China really diminished firms in many other countries and companies. That is how the market concentration, market failure operated. The second market failure that we should consider is the market failure of negative externality. Now, generally, in a market, prices represent the actual production cost, actual scarcity. That is not what happened with respect to rare earths. Because China was manipulating exchange rates, there were subsidies, there was a lot of export of Chinese rare earths in many countries. There was a lot of overconsumption of those kinds of products. What that led to is other companies and countries did not invest a lot of energy in trying to recycle rare earths, for example, or trying to find substitutes or alternatives which were environmentally more friendly or which were better in terms of efficiency. Now, let's take the case when China is restricting the supply of rare earths to the world. Again, there is a clear market failure here. The market failure first is about abuse of market power. Now, efficient allocation of resources means that resources flow to the company or the buyer who values it the most. And countries and companies are willing to pay a lot for rare earths. But because China has restricted the export of rare earths in recent years, there is an abuse of market power, and other companies, countries are struggling to find alternatives. The other market failure here is also about information asymmetry. In the past, when other companies tried to find alternative sources to China's rare earths, Chinese companies often countered that by overflooding the market once some investment had begun in other countries and companies. Now, this is again information asymmetry because we really don't know what is happening within China, what is the actual capacity, and how companies are operating. This is again a market failure which has global consequences. Now, what I said about rare earths is applicable to many domains, whether it is solar panels, whether it is pharmaceutical APIs. In all these domains, you see the same story operating, where China's actions are having global consequences and hence they are a global market failure. Now, why does all this matter? If we think of China's actions as an international market failure, then we start thinking of a couple of solutions. One is that we need to think of countervailing tariffs in only specific domains against China where there is provable market failure of that kind I mentioned. And it is not just about countervailing tariffs by one country. That won't work because the supply will come through some other third country. It has to be a coordinated mechanism where the bigger economies of the world come together and put countervailing tariffs on China in specific domains where this market failure is demonstrated, with the hope that China will be able to change some of its internal dynamics which are producing this market failure. The other way in which this matters is that many other countries need to think of counter leverage options. If we understand that this is a market failure which China is producing, then some other countries can come together and develop counter leverages by restraining things to China which China needs in return. For example, ball bearings and really specific ball bearings, industry scale ball bearings are something that China needs and cannot produce at home. But if countries come together and put countervailing tariffs or restrictions on China in order for China to correct some of its own internal dynamics, then there is hope for China to improve. Otherwise, we will be stuck in a situation where China's exports keep increasing, imports keep decreasing, and the firms across the world suffer the consequences of its economic strategy.